A rusty chain and a padlock that still serve their purpose. The majestic coat of arms of a former noble family and a clinking mailbox in the blowing wind. Mail hasn't been delivered here for a long time, but a new resident has found shelter from the storm. And it is also fact that this is not our entrance, because in the rarest of cases you enter through the main gate. So off into the forest, looking for the most famous of all paths, the Urbex Trail. And there it is. Today I am accompanied by Sonja and Pete, and somehow we are lost.
Kannst du nicht mal Maps machen?
In addition, there is a lot of shooting going on, so let's realign quickly to find out where we have to go from here.
Nee, da ist das Tor, wo wir vorhin vorbei sind. Dann muss das eigentlich da hinten irgendwo sein. Da ist er wieder, der gute alte Urbex Trampelpfad. Hoffen wir mal, dass wir richtig sind. Ich glaube, das ist doch groß.
We have not reached our actual destination yet, but the outbuildings with the stables already have a lot to offer. The walls are full of riding equipment, and every horse lover would have found his own personal Eldorado here. But there is another door, beyond which the horse dream continues. The unheated rooms are like poison for the leather goods, and in some cases, mold has settled on them. Other things have suffered as well, such as this saddle, which has certainly seen better times. The horse fan immediately recognizes what this is. I have to think for a second, and then my answer is a double bit, just like that bigger one. And in the moldy box are those tendon boots? You could tie up your horse outside in the yard, and that is an extraordinary piece of craftsmanship. A really nice old carriage is parked in the courtyard, and although there are petrol cans and oil drums, the vehicle was still pulled by horses. However, if you think that this is just an abandoned stud, you should sharpen your senses again, because this was just the warm-up to one of the most spectacular places we have ever explored. Surrounded by huge corn and grain fields, a castle in the style of the Renaissance from the 19th century lies hidden in a small oak forest. Roughly translated, its real name means a place planted with oaks, and so it is not surprising that these giant trees protect the castle's walls from prying eyes and shroud it in an aura of mystery. The history of the castle goes back much further though, because the oldest parts of the building date back to the 15th century. Originally, this was just a manor house, consisting of the two towers and the rooms in between, which can now be clearly seen in the foreground on the left. It's always exciting to make comparisons between old postcards and what it looks like today from a similar point of view. And whether a building is abandoned or not can usually be seen from the condition of the garden. This used to be the main entrance, and there was a bell to ring if you wanted to be let in. Today we don't need anyone to welcome us, because the door is wide open. I often skip the kitchen during my explorations, but here I simply have to make an exception. And that's only the anteroom. There will probably be persons claiming that such a building can never be abandoned. But let me be honest, it doesn't look like that, even in my house. These plant growths on the wall have a certain fascination, I must admit. And with that, we enter the actual kitchen. Have fun with a smorgasbord of pots and pans the world has never seen before. Fortunately, the Urbex bus has not been here yet, but the number of visitors to this place is definitely increasing. You can see that in scribblings like this. In the past, the castle was protected by security measures, but today you can simply walk inside. Why am I telling you this? Well, we saw two girls enter the building before us, and so I whistled to make ourselves known. Unfortunately, they got it wrong. Thought we were watchdogs and hid for an incredible 2 hours in a closet. Next time I'll simply shout hello. But now let's take a deep breath and enjoy. By the way, we are currently in the entrance hall, directly behind the door where we rang the bell. On the cupboard with its truly remarkable carvings lies a brochure that I have never seen before. What looks like an art catalogue from the outside, and initially also from the inside, is in reality an elaborately designed brochure about cattle trucks. Amazing what's out there. And on the same cupboard, this headpiece. Somehow I have a picture of the Queen in my mind's eye. With a heavy heart, we turn our eyes away, because there is still so much to see and discover here. How about this inviting seating area in a corner of the entrance hall, above which you can find an impressive hunting trophy? I can't help it, but somehow almost everything here reminds me of the Castle of Dreams. Just a little bit smaller, more intimate, and not as pompous. The picture could show the last real owners of the castle, about whom I'll be talking later. But for now, we get to something really unexpected. And no, I'm not talking about this nice doorknob, but what lies hidden behind it. I was expecting a lot. After all, we are inside the Castle of Secrets. But not this. A small chapel. It also dates back to the 19th century, like most parts of the castle. The friendly neighbors we met on site told us the story that this gem was supposedly personally consecrated by the former Pope, which would have been Pius IX, the Pope with the longest pontificate in history. However, I couldn't find out whether that urban legend is true or not. One thing is certain though, this guy here was not involved. There's one more remarkable thing inside the chapel, a confessional. So if you wanted to and didn't have a clear conscience, you could quickly confess before the Mass. With this final glance, we leave the small church. Without further ado, we enter the second most beautiful room on the ground floor, the Majestic dining room. If you think you've just seen the best part, get ready for this. I don't really know what to call it. Living room sounds almost a little shabby for this gem. A bottle of port wine on the grand piano. It doesn't get much better than this. Quite often have I thought, learn at least a few sensible touches on the piano. But somehow it always ends like that. What I particularly like about grand pianos is the fact that you can also take a look behind the scenes. Speaking of which, behind the inviting armchair, there are a few things that take us back to the beginning of our castle exploration. Surely you still remember all the riding equipment. Here are a pair of riding boots, which are kept in shape with somewhat old-fashioned shoe trees. And if I had another free hand, I could also completely remove the complex puzzle. Then there is a copy of a weekly booklet about the adventures of a stubborn French colonel. So much fun for only 10 centimes. The last glass of port wine has been drunk. With that, we leave this light-flooded chamber and turn our attention to the last room on the ground floor, which I have called the Green Saloon. The wooden shutters are closed and additionally secured with a lock bar, but a few rays of light still fall through. Now you just have to imagine a crackling fire while you are sitting in the leather armchair with a good book. How about this? Two girls from France. I don't know. Rather not. We just don't have the time for such a tome. After all, 2 floors are waiting for us to be explored. And somewhere in a closet, there are still 2 girls hiding. So let's go. I'm sure there are some well-kept secrets yet to be discovered in this magical castle. Are you feeling refreshed now? So let's start looking for those 2 girls. Just as I'm walking up the stairs, I hear a sound from the left. In pure shock, I jerk the camera. After 2 hours, they finally dared to leave their hiding place, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to personally inspect their shelter. So this is the famous closet, and they also had a mobile toilet on board. Back on the stairs, we inspect the fabrics the walls are decorated with. Some of them still look pretty neat, while others have already started to dissolve. And the ravages of time gnaw on the masonry underneath. On we go, up the rest of the staircase. And here something new awaits me. Something I had never encountered on any of my previous explorations. I'm sure that there certainly is a technical term for this rondel, but you definitely have a great view down into the entrance hall and on one of the 2 ex-closet residents. Enough of that. Back to the castle and its builder, a count. His mother originates from one of the oldest and most prestigious houses in the French aristocracy. The line of his ancestors can be traced back to 1310, but in the middle of the 20th century, the last descendant of the noble family left the historical walls. But the wheel of time kept turning, and soon new residents were to fill the castle with life. Up here on the first floor, a piano is also waiting for a pianist. But we are restless explorers and therefore step through one of the numerous doors that take us into a side wing of the castle. On a table, the image of a countess of the original noble family from the 19th century. However, I think the small children's bed in the corner with its dolls and this unusual soft toy is even more interesting. Somehow, the thing reminds me of E.T. One of the dolls looks up skeptically, and rightly so, because the walls are covered with dangerous black mold. A collection of a different kind, far away from any seacoast. Let's remember that. We leave the room through the opposing door, and face a veritable army of cuddly toys. We call those critters Furbies, extremely popular with children in the 90s. I just think they're ugly. But that is only of secondary interest. It is much more important to find out who owned them. Maybe the answer is hidden here. You rarely see a room like that, round because it's in one of the towers, with ceilings up into the clouds, and definitely a girl's retreat. Of course, the girl had a name, Virginia, and in 2009 she took an English course in London, because even though her name suggests otherwise, she was Italian. A young girl, or better, a teenager, with her own fancy bathroom. Now that's not what you would associate with a princess bath, but in exchange she also had a separate makeup room. And as with the Castle of Dreams, the keys are marked with individual labels. I simply love details like this. We continue with our exploration tour, the adjoining room, and once again a place where lots of discoveries can be made. Let's start with the obvious. Lots of mold. And lots of ties. And where there is a box full of ties, shirts can't be far away either. Or is that a woman's blouse perhaps? That would definitely not suit me. If you look closely, you will find more swan figures under the detached wallpaper. We already saw them at the entrance to the room. The natural decay, especially here, is breathtaking, and you can take this literally. With that, back to the stairwell, where we decide on door number 1. A room flooded with sunlight, with light-colored wallpaper and no decay. The moth-eaten uniform of the commander of the French armed forces hangs over a chair. The rank roughly corresponds to that of a major. Certainly a legacy from the past, just like these paintings and a large part of the furniture and decorative objects that are distributed all over the castle. As we take a closer look at the next room, I would like to say a few words about the people who lived here most recently. You might have considered it already. This was home to a family from Italy, although I have to put the latter into perspective. A good 10 years ago, they bought the castle and all its surrounding lands, but not, as you might have guessed, to settle here permanently. It only served as a kind of summer retreat. For exactly 1 month a year, it was always August, they left their sophisticated house in a coastal Tuscan town and came here. For 4 weeks in summer, the doors of the time-honored building opened, and for a short period, life returned to the castle's walls. But as suddenly as the Italian family had come, as suddenly they disappeared again. 3 years ago in summer, their visits ended, and no one knows what happened. We talked to the neighbors who were frequent guests here and who called them friends. They too were left at a loss. Their fate, a riddle wrapped up in an enigma. I will say a few words about the future of Château Secret at the end of our visit, because now we need all our attention for something truly impressive. I have no idea what all those sewing machines are doing here, because surely you have already noticed. This is a library. Not as massive as the one from the Castle of Dreams, but still impressive. Hidden underneath a book about another castle is an outline drawing of this building. Somehow it doesn't seem particularly large. This map was created almost 100 years ago. Then there is the note with John F. Kennedy's famous words.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Secluded on the floor lies a key. But let's put it where it belongs, on the key rack. Okay, this would be the key for the library. And I can't decipher that, not even with the best will in the world. Wait, I almost forgot. Check. A quick look at the beautiful glass windows. Things like that are often overlooked. Traces of years of vacancy and visible signs of decay everywhere. Why don't you accompany me on my sweaty journey to the upper floors, where I finish my history lesson? After the Italian family had simply disappeared, the castle was acquired by a foreign investor from Indonesia 2 years later. However, the neighbors told us that they had never seen him here, which is why it is suspected that the ancient building was only used for money laundering. That is why today the castle is up for sale again, and it is imperative that a real enthusiast will take good care of it. If you talk to the friendly farmers next door, listen to their stories from the past, how they ate together with the Italians in the dining room, played music in the saloon, you can get a little wistful. For them, it is a tragedy to see what is happening here.
Noch eine Bibliothek.
Fantastic! Another huge book collection. But as you can see, the works here are much older. When I see something like that, the scene from the science fiction classic The Time Machine immediately comes to mind, when the time traveler wants to look at old books to learn more about the Eloi people.
Das ist wirklich mehr, als mir lieb ist.
What have you done? Thousands of years of building and rebuilding, creating and recreating so you can let it crumble to dust.
In case you haven't seen the movie yet, beware of the Morlocks. But back to the books, which are neatly sorted on the shelves. History, geography, French literature. Okay. The staff rooms are also up here, which can easily be seen by all the utensils. But to be honest, they are not exactly spectacular. I was just about to turn my back on the dustpan when I notice one last door. Well, I guess we would have missed something. Tex, an Italian comic series about a young hero. Quick with a pistol, strong with his fists. He moves from one adventure to the next. That is Tex. Of course, there is a different kind of literature here as well. Or what's left of it. A brand new sofa and the comics about our Western hero. This was probably a boy's country. The bathroom was also part of his kingdom, and obviously it was modernized as well. It was the Italians, for sure. Slowly but surely, our discovery tour of the Castle of Secrets comes to a close. It's a shame that places like this, where you can feel and breathe history, are left to rot, but also to destruction, and that therefore their future is written in the stars. Compared to the Castle of Dreams, which was our greatest exploration so far, everything was somehow smaller, more home-like, more intimate, but nevertheless, or maybe because of that, similarly moving. For almost 3 years now, the Lost Place tapes have presented you unique, enchanting, spectacular abandoned places. And even though the hobby is part of society these days and has become kind of mainstream, I don't want to lose my passion for it, because the world is still full of secrets. Alright guys, if you want to see and hear more videos of the Lost Place tapes in English, let me know which ones. We have a backlog of more than 100 episodes to choose from. Simply write the number or the title down in the comments. The choice is yours, the work is mine. Bring on your favorites!